I think, service is certainly very important, but you can be generous in every single activity that you undertake. And looking back at my business, I wrote this new book called First Not Last, and it's all about the generosity that a business leader needs to embody in helping his team accomplish goals. So he has to learn how to accomplish goals through others. In the hustle culture space, when I start my business, I got to get my brand, I got to get my products, get my service, get my relationship. That's hustle, and you got to have it. And so eventually you have to learn how to accomplish goals through others. And that's where generosity pays off in spades because people will respond to generosity.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Stephen. I almost said co-host. I've got 3 podcasts, but I'm just the host today with an incredible guest. Generosity. I want you to stew on that for a second before I bring him on. What does that mean to you? I know what it means. Definitely a servant's heart. That's one of the descriptions. Generosity. But we're going to bring that into leadership and business, which I'm so excited because you all know that's what I talk about all the time. How can we serve more in our business? Before we get started, speaking of generous, let's do a gratitude for you guys today. Today's gratitude is the hardest battles often lead to the most beautiful victories. Wow. The hardest battles. Well, being generous can definitely bring you victories too. So with that being said, let's bring our guest on. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Steve.
Generosity coach, consultant, advisor, whatever label you put behind generosity. Why that?
Well, okay, so my story starts out in Southern California. It's 2020, it's the pandemic. And my wife decides that she doesn't want to be married anymore. And I have heart surgery and I leave Southern California and I move to the Northwest. Get a little TLC from a lot of family up here, wander around in the desert trying to figure out what I really want to do. Do I want to start my practice again, etc. And God steers me to the Portland Rescue Mission. And the Portland Rescue Mission has, it's really a remarkable organization, and I'm certain they're in other cities too, but their downtown center, for example, serves 1,000 meals a day. But they also have 2 substance abuse recovery homes, one for men and one for women. And through this process, I actually thought maybe I should go work for them. It didn't work out. That wasn't going to be the right thing. So I volunteered. And I didn't pick it, but they put me in as a life skills teacher for the purpose component of their program. Now, the program there is 12 months long. And so I show up on Wednesday. There's a curriculum, and the topic is mission and vision, which is a very common topic for business leaders. And I'm like, hey, this is right up my alley. And so I began to teach this group of men who were in a totally different place than anybody I've also ever really taught, right? Because these aren't business leaders. These are people that are recovering, and they are about 3 months from graduating and stepping out into the world again. And so my job is to get them ready to step out into the world. And so I do my best to help them and put it in terms they can understand. And at the end of this 1-hour session, there is just this amazing gratitude and appreciation and thankfulness that comes back at me. And I leave there, and every time I tell the story, I get goosebumps. I leave there and I'm driving home and I get goosebumps and I go, wow, that is the best thing I've done in a couple, 3 years. Like I need to tell other people how this works because you can't buy this feeling, this joy, right? Because I didn't plan it. I didn't, you know, define it. It just happened. And I said, I need to figure out how do we do this? And so I began to strategically drift into that generosity coach thing. And it's not just generosity like that. I think, service is certainly very important, but you can be generous in every single activity that you undertake. And looking back at my business, I wrote this new book called First Not Last, and it's all about the generosity that a business leader needs to embody in helping his team accomplish goals. So he has to learn how to accomplish goals through others. In the hustle culture space, when I start my business, I got to get my brand, I got to get my products, get my service, get my relationship. That's hustle, and you got to have it. But if you want to grow, that hustle caps. You run out of time. You can't do it all yourself. And so eventually you have to learn how to accomplish goals through others. And that's where generosity pays off in spades because people will respond to generosity. They don't necessarily respond to management.
Perfectly said. Nobody wants to be managed. They have to be managed, but with a generous uh, addendum to that. Instead of like, John, you're late all the time, fix it. Like, John, notice you're late a little bit, but when I spend an hour with you, let's talk about your time's generous, money's generous. You what you say. You write down my bellywick, as I say that phrase now. I don't know why I'm old. I guess that's why I say that. But I've noticed you developed a model called the focal point. I think I know what it is. Are you still using that? Is that part of your coaching approach?
Yeah, so Focal Point is actually a coaching program. When I first started my practice in 2010, I joined the Focal Point organization.
Okay.
That was a coaching program that Brian Tracy put together. Brian Tracy is a pretty
Mm.
noted author, and so that's where I got kind of my coaching education. I spent 30 years in big corporate, and then stepped into small business. And um, my original thought was that the big business tools, I could bring those to small business, and I can, but you have to do it differently because small business doesn't act, operate, and think the same as corporate. Like when I talk about metrics and benchmarking and corporate guys, they all get it. You talk to a three-person business owner, and he's like, I don't know, and I need, and I'm busy, and I got to take care of this stuff. And so there's a different process that you have to do there. And then, as I became a small business owner, I began to understand a lot more about that because in corporate, you like to be an inch wide and a mile deep, right? Because they specialize so much. But in small business, you have to be an inch wide and a mile deep in your product and your service, but then you also have to be a little bit deep in 35 other areas because you have to wear all those other hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, just the mindset and how that works. In corporate, if you make a mistake, people make mistakes all the time. It might be career limiting, but you're still going to get a paycheck. You're still probably going to go on vacation. You make that kind of mistake in your small business, and that could be life altering. So it's just a different scale, different
Yeah.
system. And
It's
so,
interesting. Yeah. And so, audience, what he's saying is there's Applebee's and there's your mom and pop restaurant around the corner that's been around 20 years. Completely different. They're both the restaurants, they both serve the same food, but the structure and system and people are, I mean, that's fine. It's, we're not saying, but your goal is the small, medium sized business with a few employees, right?
absolutely. I look
Yeah.
at 2 to 15 because
Okay.
that's where the scalability problem really comes in. There's a point where you can manage 5 people by yourself and kind of control that. Maybe 10 if you're stretching. 15, you're really starting to feel the cracks. Anything more than that, it's kind of crazy. And so that's where you have to make the shift to accomplishing goals through others if you want to scale. Or you just say, hey, look, this is all it's ever going to be.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of AI shows, John. You're going to like, John's talking about real people, not AI agent. And I love AI. I'm not against it, but these are not AI. These are people that you're talking to every day, making goals, doing plans, being strategic with them. And I love what you're doing because generosity will change the game for employees. It just, and the culture. So let's talk about culture. Focal point model. How do you come into a culture that's just a mess? It's just terrible. What would you do to come in and change that?
Well, let me start by saying focal point, the name, right, is all about targeting that thing that moves the needle. Right? You can't do 10 things at once and move the needle. So the idea is, what is it that's going to move the needle? And so when I step into it, it really depends on, I have a tool called the King's Audit. All right, so I'm a chess player. I played competitive chess when I was in high school. I played in the US Chess Championships back in 1976. So I think chess. For like it or not, that's just how my brain works. And the King's Audit, and so a lot of my tools are chess named. The King's Audit is the analysis of your current system, your current business. Where are you? Where are you
Okay.
in marketing and sales? What's your culture like, et cetera, et cetera? Because what I want to do is identify that one thing that's going to start to move the needle. Because when you make the right moves, and that's one of my terms I use in chess, when you make the right moves, you win the game. But you need to make the right moves in the right order. If you don't make them in the right order, you might not get what you want, and it might not work at all. So it's really about what's first, what's second, what's the domino that works. Because we can't jump to the third step right away. It doesn't, you need to follow the process.
Yeah,
So teams
I
audit,
love
that's
it.
the first thing that we do.
And I love that because I use sports. I know nothing about checkers or chess. I just don't. That's why I wouldn't use it. That's why I love me and you could do the same result, be so generous, but I'm talking sports analogy using chess analogies. Powerful what we can do. Because I think too many people, John, have you seen this? We're trying to build their model. Let's use Brian Tracy. I want to be just like Brian Tracy. I'm going to do everything he does. Just can't really do that, can we?
You're not Brian,
No.
right? You have your own. God created you for a reason. He gave you gifts for a reason. You are unique. Of all the people on this planet, 8 billion, you're unique. The things that you were born with, the things that you learned, of how you were nurtured, how you were educated, it's all remarkably different than anybody else on the planet.
Yeah.
So you have to do it your way.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's a good lesson, audience. This guy's brilliant. I'm going to tell you right now, I've just met him, but he's absolutely brilliant because that's a simple thing. If you understand that, your road's going to be much better. There's going to be a little less bumps. There are always going to be bumps, but we can reduce those bumps on the journey. God, it just makes the journey so much more fun. I think I'm going to change the name of the podcast, Doing Generosity with a Servant's Heart, because it's the same thing. So let's use that vein. How does a leader use generosity to be a better leader, not just to grow revenue and all, which is important, but wants to be a better leader in their business?
Well, you think about it, you can have all the systems in the world, all the technology in the
Mm-hmm.
world, but the people are what makes it different. When you have an A player on your team, superstar, life's different.
Mm-hmm.
And so your goal as a leader is to create A players and position A players so that they can be at their most successful. That's how you win a chess game. You put your pieces in the right places, in the most successful places to, execute your strategy and win the game. When you have A players, whatever team, whatever resources you have to put them in the success positions for them, not for you, for them. And so that means you have to understand them. You have to understand in detail what makes them work, what makes them tick, how do they become successful, and how do I put them into that successful space. And we'd love to have A players all over our team, but remember, A players, superstars, are expensive. They're not standing out and around on the street waiting for you to hire them, right? They're working for somebody else and they're probably not unhappy, which means that we have to do some different things to try and get an A player to notice who we are and to want to come over here. And the opportunity is going to have to be pretty special. Or we train A players, right? We take early stage opportunities and mold them to becoming their own level A player. And when we do that, we can then position them effectively to work with everybody else. And again, not everybody's an A player. Not every team has A players at every position, but they learn how to work together. They learn how to coordinate and leverage the unit so that it's more effective. I'm thinking in terms of football at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. Yeah, that's where I'm getting from it. Because you're absolutely right. Tom Brady, perfect. He's an A player, top of the best. But what I love what you're saying is your employees will start adopting that. Or if they don't, they're gone. That sales manager that's there early, that's making sales, he's helping the other sales guys, he's being generous. Well, that bleeds into the other employees. Either they're going to jump on the bandwagon or they're going to be left behind, right? I mean, or am I being too blunt?
No, what's interesting in this model is that people that don't want to operate in that fashion, they actually self-select out. They realize because the metrics, the information, they can see that they don't fit, that this isn't where they want to be, that this isn't it. And me as a leader, I can see that too. So I can have the conversation that says, hey, look, I appreciate what you're doing here, but and I know that this isn't the fit for you. So let's find another fit for you. It's probably not here, but we can help you find another fit somewhere else. Right. So we can be generous in that manner and manage our team because, frankly, not everybody fits with every culture, not everybody fits with everyone. Our job, my job as the leader, is to build that team.
And leadership and entrepreneurship and business ownership is uncomfortable. And you made an uncomfortable situation less uncomfortable. It's still not easy to tell Steve Ramona, hey, you're not a fit. But I've talked to very successful guys, John. I know you're going to love this. They're like, I found him an interview somewhere else, sometimes with my competitor,
Right.
because
He might
generosity.
fit somewhere, and I'm being generous to him,
Yeah.
right? So it's all focused on them. When I hold you accountable, it's not that I'm trying to manage you up, right? I want you to be the best you can be. And by holding you accountable, that's how you can be the best you can be. I need to be held accountable because when people hold me accountable, I get more done. I get things done on time. I get things done better. So accountability is a generous move when you use it correctly, when people understand
Yeah.
it's for their best interest.
Man, I wish this was a 3-hour podcast. I could talk all day about this. It's great. So let's take a thriving business and a business going bankrupt. Let's just use that word. What's the different mindset and generosity that you would see in each scenario? And how would you fix the one that might be going bankrupt? Of course, there's other
Well,
variables, but
yeah, there's like no one tried and true path that's going to
right.
do that. But the scarcity mindset is very likely in the business that's going bankrupt because they are looking at the numbers and they may not be looking and figuring out how do we make this the best possible, right? They're looking at the impact to themselves that there's not enough to go around, that we're not going to make it, that I need to, and it's all about me, me, me. Whereas the business that's thriving has a leader that is saying, I need to make my guys better. I need to make them more successful. I need to figure out where they need training, where they need coaching, where they need knowledge, where they need practice. Because all those things are important in getting better at what you're trying to do.
Better is tied to generosity. You make somebody better, you're being generous, aren't you?
It's a scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset.
So people listening, and we'll get your contact information. Because honestly, if you're not reaching out to this guy, you're crazy because he's just changed my life in 20 minutes already. And I'm a generous guy and I'm a servant guy, but there's more that I can do. Generosity, they're thinking, how do I be generous? Okay, I love what you're saying, John. What's my first step or two that I need to do to be more generous as a leader?
Okay, I got one. I don't want to call it a magic bullet, but I think it's a magic bullet. It's
Sweet.
learn the art of the pause. So what
Mm.
happens is you're working about your day and then something happens, right? Somebody's not happy or something gets tricked out. It's just problems. They happen. You don't get to decide when adversity comes walking in the door. And the idea is to pause right there and say, I need to react with generosity. And generosity requires intention, right? So our natural protection mechanism says lash out and protect us. That's what our ego tells us, right? Generosity says, oh, I need to figure out a better way to do this. I need to find a way that serves that person as well as me. And it could be somebody that's unhappy, or it could be an unhappy customer. And it would be, how do I buy some time? So you pause first and then you say, okay, this is this might be one way you resolve it. This is an important conversation, and I hear you and I value what you have to say, but now is not the best time to have this conversation. Can we arrange some time later to do this? Later today, later whatever, right? Because by that time, I will have figured out the solution. I might not be good at figuring out spontaneously. Some people are very intuitive and are better at spontaneous, but I'm not. I'm better at thinking, right? So then I can go away and I can say, okay, so here's what I'm trying to do. How do I approach it? And there's a whole lot of leadership out there about how to deal with crucial conversations and conflict
Mhm.
and things like that. And I'm not saying that I know all of those, but guess what? I can go look those up if I have
Yeah.
time, and then I can apply it appropriately, and then I can be more generous. And what I have to do is that pause. I cannot just quickly react. Pause. 30 seconds, 45 seconds. It'll feel kind of weird because no sounds are happening, but you want to pause and then you'll dominate the next sentence, right? This is important. This is valuable. I hear you, but now's not the right time. So let's figure out a good time to do this.
You know why that's a magic bullet, John? Because it is. Everybody in this listening, me and you, can do this. That's not an exceptional skill you have to do that. Just pause.
Just pause, pause,
Yeah,
strategically
powerful,
pause.
powerful. And that's great for speaking and podcasting. And because I like to talk too much sometimes, I've learned to let my guest have some fun, which leads to let's have some fun. let's dream. John, what do you see yourself or would like to see yourself in 2 to 3 years with your coaching platform?
So I did the one-on-one thing for 10 years, from 2010 to
Mhm.
2020, then the pandemic. I told you that story earlier. So what I'm doing now is I am building a cohort system that allows me to teach this freedom gambit and the whole life leadership model. Whole life meaning that it's about your life. It's not just about the business, because we've seen people get consumed by the business. That's really not the objective. It's about life. It's about their life. It's about your life. It's about a generous life. Is to be able to teach that to a couple of hundred people every year, right? And I do that through a cohort. I have mastery days, and there is a little bit of one-on-one coaching for special situations,
Mhm.
um, community group. That's where I see myself in two. That's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm building right now, and it's a totally different. It's not one-on-one coaching, but I believe that for most people working in integrated groups that with people like them is a better foundation for growth than just me telling stories.
Easier to scale it too. You can't one-on-ones, you can only do a certain amount of people. So it limits, which is fine. I mean, the people that do one-on-ones, that's fine, but you want more massive growth. And I love that. More messaging of this, what you're doing, this freedom, which is a great word. And Gambit, of course. I watched that movie, The Gambit with chess. So I know that. And some of you check it out. It's a pretty good movie. To end, what's one last word you want to leave people that are like, okay, I want freedom. I want this generosity. Where do I go?
Well, I don't know. The one that always shows up with me is love,
Hmm.
because love is what makes the world go round. And love is the reason why you're being generous, not the romantic love kind. That's not it, right? This is the love of your fellow man. It's what that's why you want to do better. And Jesus, my favorite rock star hero, every time I look back at what he accomplished, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Um, that was his whole thing, loving somebody else. Now, and again, he did the hard stuff. He had the hard conversations, but he did it for the right reasons, right? He was being
Yep.
generous. And so to me, love is really the key. Like, how do I create more of that in my sphere of influence throughout the world? Whatever I can do
Yep.
to spread that, that's what I want to do.
I love the Jesus model because I agree with you. And the hard thing to the audience, if you're not read the Bible, he did a 40-day fast and being alone. That's a hard thing to do for love
I,
for people.
yeah, I don't know if I can do a 40-day fast. Well, I've never done it, and I'm not certain I'm trying, but I
You
respect it.
should. Yeah, that's a unique thing. Don't try it out there, audience. Don't be like Jesus. Probably would tell you if he told you in person. Thank you for being such an incredible guest, John. Your humbleness and energy about this is so powerful. Let me ask you a personal question. So I know you're in Vancouver. You pick your favorite restaurant. You tell me, we're going to go here. I'm going to reserve a table. What I want you to do is I want you to invite 3 people, whether dead or alive, who've been influential in your life. And also, I want you to order the food for the table because I want to know what you want to eat.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a great question. And so let me think about it just a minute here. Jesus is
Sure.
on the list, right?
I
Um,
figured that one was good.
yeah, yeah. My earliest mentor coach that I had no idea was a mentor coach at the time was a gentleman by the name of Leo Cotter. He was a teacher at the high school and he ran the chess club. And his pouring into me, along with many others, is what made that such an amazing, remarkable experience. So I would have Leo be in that. And then I would say the next leader, and he doesn't even know this, that I thought was really amazing. Well, there's two of them, but one of them I would definitely put on the list. A guy by the name of Dan Ardell, and his ability to move from small business to large to big business. So he went from a small real estate firm to working for CB Richard Ellis and running the largest account at CB. And I worked for him, and his ability to just communicate and share and be real and so those are the 3 people I would bring. And I actually hadn't even thought about the third one until you just brought that question up. But he pops into my head as that kind of person that would just be an amazing conversation. And the conversation at that table would be spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I am a for a meal, I'm kind of a sauces guy. And I'm thinking in terms, I could look at it like, what do I really want to experience, or what do I want my guests to experience? Um,
Either way, your
yeah.
choice.
So so I'm a huge French food fan because of the sauces. Now, not necessarily healthy because there's lots of butter and cream, but tastes really good. But I find that in Mexican food as well, right? A lot of interesting sauces and flavors. But I would probably say a uh, French restaurant, and they're not around anymore. They were down in Newport Beach, California, and that was my favorite restaurant to go to. Every bite bursting with flavor.
Oh, now you're making me hungry. I love it. What a table too. I can't wait to talk to Jesus and Ardell oh man. That's why I love asking this question. It brings up so many great emotions. Where can people get the book? You have a couple of books. What are the names of the books again, and where can they get them?
So the first book, which I wrote in 2018, is called Checkmate: Winning
Well,
Tactics for Translating Ideas into Money.
of course,
And that was,
checkmate.
yeah,
I'm not surprised.
right. And that was essentially my treatise on how do I help people move from where they are to where they want to go. Translating ideas into money, translating ideas into results. It's the same concept. It's a sort of a requirements, attitude based, plus strategic steps. The second book that's being published on May 6th is called First Not Last. First Not Last. And that's how visionary entrepreneurs move first, create opportunity, and build businesses that others follow, right? And that's the whole key to that is follow, right? Leaders lead people to places they've never been before. And so that book will be released on May 6th. And you can reach out to me. My website is businesswit.com. The word business, my last name, WHITT.com. And first not last businesswit.com will take you to the advanced reader page for that book, for First Not Last. And you can find the book. The original book is on my website. The new book, not out yet, so that's why it's not there yet. But again, simply first not last businesswit.com. And that's how you can become an advanced reader, which I will then ask you to leave reviews for me too.
Oh yeah, please do. Generosity. And I'm going to be generous. I'm going to follow this theme, John. The first 5 of you in the audience that reaches out to John, and you mention my podcast, my name, you can say Steve's podcast or doing business, doesn't matter. I'm going to send you his book for free, and you get to choose Checkmate or the book that's coming out May 6th. But make sure you mention the podcast first. And by the way, if you listen to the end, like I'm doing, that's why I do this, you got all this great information he sent you. And now you get a free book, you first 5 people. So go ahead and do that. He'll get me your contact info. John, thanks again for being an incredible guest, spending time with us. And I know you're busy and I appreciate you being here. And audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel. This show is a gift. You're talking to somebody who wants to be a better leader, send this podcast to them. Because guess what? It's probably going to change them like it did me. So with that being said, me and John want to thank all of you for watching this podcast, and we'll see you all on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great, or a generosity heart. All have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.